Let's get the show started. So, Brien Johnson, welcome to AskBrien.com, and the fabulous, the smart, the witty, the clever, and maybe one of the nicest people ever meet in the whole wide world, Lindsay McCoy. How are you, girl?
I'm great, Ron. Thank you. How are you?
Nice to see you again. And somebody today was listening to our show. They went on Facebook. We're live on Facebook. Live on Facebook. Here I am. Hello, everybody. Complimented you on your smile, and somebody said you had the nicest smile. Seriously, I mean,
thank you.
So, Lindsay and Brien,
spread the word. Spread the word.
Oh, I'm spreading the word, girl. So we have a CEO segment every week.
That's correct.
We're gonna have another one this week, but now we have maybe one of the most famous people I know. Period.
He's definitely the most famous person ever at KHTS.
No question. He's the owner of KHTS. Well, one of the owners. He's one of the owners.
Yeah, the lesser half.
No kidding.
You're the one who does all the grunt work, huh?
Jerry Cerati is the other owner. And a big shout out, Jerry, if you're listening. And stay away from him. He's got a cold. You can't come down. So, Carl, how are you, pal? First of all, we're dear friends, 18 years. I've known you a long time. I admire you. You're like truly one of my idols, one of the great business people I've ever met. Being a CEO is not easy today, is it? Because you've got rules and regulations. And I remember when I started my company, and you're too young to remember, but I used to hug my employees. God forbid you should even shake the hand of an employee.
Well, not with sexual harassment laws.
No, it's unbelievable. So isn't it challenging running a company?
Yeah, and it gets tougher and tougher, particularly in California. And we're out there, as you know, Coach, we're out there all the time talking to businesses here in Santa Clarita. And if there's one mantra out there, it's doing business in California is very, very challenging. And then in our industry, we've come from, the last 8 years we're regulated by the FCC, the Federal Communications Commission, and we've come from the last 8 years, wherever you are on the political spectrum, the reality is the leaning was toward more government regulation in the last 8 years, and our industry was certainly hit by that. So the combination of having the federal regulations with the FCC and then being in California makes it tough. And what's happened is, in terms of the FCC regulates radio, TV, and cable, but nowadays you have all kinds of other vehicles for marketing, and so it's not an equal playing field anymore, which makes it very challenging.
I know it's a cheap lead-in, and I know you didn't intend to talk about it, but can I brag on KHTS AM 1220 for a second? We really are a full-blown advertising agency. We really are. You're one of the first stations, and I complimented you 7 years ago when I moved out here. One of the first stations to get involved in digital. We have the finest, and I'm not lying when I say this, ladies and gentlemen, the finest radio app of any radio station in the country. Go to your app store, Droid or iPhone, download KHTS 1220 AM. You can instantly listen to our show, and we have some great shows, new shows coming. Cheap plug for our sports show starting March 13th. Coach Greg Herrick, the coach, and we'll have many, many of you on the show, especially anybody involved in high school or college sports. But back to KHTS. Digital, a great radio app. Our website, hometownstation.com, is one of the most respected websites for any radio station in the country. How do you do that? I mean, literally, what do you have, a staff of 1,000 people? I mean,
no, but we have an incredible, stellar staff, and they're what makes it happen. We're able to do it lean and mean, as we call it. We're small. We're a mom and pop radio station. This is it. And both Jerry and I pull up our sleeves, and we're out there doing everything that needs to get done, and our staff follows suit as well and does the exact same thing. I think we back in 2003, we recognized that the internet was going to be a powerful companion. And radio always had that challenge, particularly from the sales side. You'd go out and compete against the newspapers, and the newspaper guy would say, 5 people came in with my ad torn out from the newspaper, and 5 people didn't walk in with their air from the radio commercial, so it was always tricky. And the internet was the first thing that let us say, wow, we could actually quantify how many people we're touching, how many people we're impacting. And so very early on, we took the same strategy that allowed us to compete against the major LA stations, a KNX, for instance, by focusing on traffic from Santa Clarita, focusing on high school sports, talking about Coffee with the Mayor, having a news staff that is what we call hyper-local, where everything is geared around Santa Clarita. We took that exact same strategy that we had done successfully for 13, 14 years on the radio, moved that to the web, and then started cross-promoting. And back those days, if you guys remember, and Lindsay, you're probably too young to even have been around at that time, but in those days, if you rewound the clock and went back to 2003 and went on the internet, let's just say the LA Times, we'll take a major publication. If you looked at the LA Times website from 2003, you'd see a really nice brochure, and you might see a gardening story that was going to appear in their weekend edition. But the hard news was not there, and our competition here in town was also threatened by it and threatened by the internet. So newspapers were very slow to come on board, whereas radio, this was a great companion piece. So from 2003 until newspapers started getting interested in it in 07, 08, we had about a 3, 4, 5 year lead to just every single second that we had cross-promote the two.
You know what my newspaper is now? Every night at 5 o'clock, and I'm telling you, listeners, and we have thousands of them listening to our voice right now on KHTS 1220 AM. We're so honored that you would listen in on AskBrien.com. We've got the CEO of right here in Santa Clarita on KHTS, Carl, and his beautiful wife, Jerry Cerati. Jerry's somewhere in the background listening, hopefully.
Sure.
So I want to know, other than regulation, what is the biggest challenge for a business owner today?
Well, certainly regulation. I believe inspiring employees, particularly you're talking to an old-timer here. I'm the baby boom generation. I know you guys have talked about this on your show in the past. We have a whole new generation now of millennials. I also heard on your show, I think you were talking about this too, for the first time we have 4 different generations in the workforce. And having those generations communicate and talk to each other, and the millennials operate differently. And it took us a long time, and my wife was a lot faster to leap into that than I was and adapt. But it took
she's a lot younger than you,
too. It took a long time for us to figure it out. And we brought in Alex Urbina, who's a coach and hosts a show here, and Alex has really assisted us in shifting and getting out of our baby boomer mentality and realize this generation, the millennials, operate very, very differently.
So what programs have you done with these intergenerational people working for you that you've created that'll try to inspire these employees?
Well, I think it's a variety of things. It's one is we do leadership in group trainings together, and that's important in bringing the team together. We started doing it first with our key employees and getting them on board and in the mix. Now we've expanded it to all of our department heads and managers, and then the next step as we get them along would be to bring the rest of the staff on board. So that's one part, but the biggest part was just getting us to shift. I'm talking about my wife and I to shift and realize we need to communicate very, very differently, and the old values that we have don't apply anymore, and we're not going to motivate and inspire a staff by using the same old stuff we used in 1993. Not going to work.
Well, time out. The old values, I'm going to argue on the other, for the older people. I think the old values are still there, but they have to be communicated differently. But before I was rudely interrupted by our host, Brien of AskBrien.com, I was going to say at 5 o'clock every night, my newspaper is your incredible radio app, or it goes out. I want to give it out, but 34,000 people read this every night. All you have to do is call in the station. Lori will get your email address.
Or they can go online and register.
Oh, they can?
Yeah, right
go
at
online?
hometownstation.com. Yeah. We created that.
Nobody's doing that, Carl. Nobody in the radio industry, and I've been in a long time. You're a leader in this industry.
We won a
congratulations.
National Digital Award for that some 10, 11, 12 years ago from our industry, Radio Inc., when we started pushing that out for the first time. And today it's by far the most read news source out there. I tell a funny story that a few weeks ago, a woman saw my KHTS shirt. I see you're wearing it now, Coach. I was somewhere, and she came up to me and said, "Oh, you're over at KHTS." I gotta tell you, last night we were at my girls' soccer practice, and it was 5:10, and there were 12 moms, and 9 phones went off at the same time. And one mom said, "Oh, they've now aren't, Castaic High School got delayed again." And the other 3 moms are saying, "Well, how did you know?" And so it becomes viral because people want their information quickly now.
And now.
Right. They don't want to sit through a 30-minute newscast. They want to get their email in 20 or 30 seconds, know what's going on, hit delete and be done with it. Or if there's a story they're really interested in, then they can click, takes it over to the website, and they can dig in deeper into
Do you
it.
like our show, Ask Brien? We've had incredible, to his credit, I hate to give him credit, but we've had incredible guests every week. I mean, every week, like yourself, great CEOs. You said something, and we only have a couple of minutes left. We have to take a break, but I thought what you just said should be an eye-opener to anybody listening that owns a business, is a little bit older, learning how to communicate with this younger generation. That is so big and so important.
And the other word I put in there, it's not just communicate, but inspire.
There you go.
And learning how to inspire the
How do you do it? Seriously, how do you inspire young people?
by making a whole bunch of mistakes. You can go check with my staff, and they'll give you the Carl list. But that's what it is. It's making, you got to figure it out. There's no rule book on it. You just have to figure it out. When you make a mistake, suck it up and say, "Hey, I messed up. And now let's move on, and here's how I fix it, and it won't happen again."
But you know what? You're a nice man to begin with, and you're authentic. And I think the young people want authenticity. Don't you think, Carl?
Absolutely.
They want don't try to fake them out. Don't try to be something that you're not. Just be yourself. It's good enough, and that would work. So God bless you. Thank you for KHTS, and the community has thanked you. I mean, you've won every award from the state, federal government, local. You have literally, if you come to the station, and we're on Main Street here in Newhall, California, you have hundreds of accommodations and awards. And if you need, give me a couple extra ones just to put in my trophy case.
Absolutely, but that's not why we do it. We're passionate about it. We're passionate about this community. We raised our kids here. We live here. We live and breathe it. I just want to share with Brien. I think your website and the concept of Ask Brien is brilliant, and I just want that to take off and become the next GoDaddy out there.
It's a great idea, isn't it? I mean,
great idea.
It is a great, and he's as we both know, he's a very successful attorney. He wants to give back to small business owners.
Which we want to give back to business owners. So let's not forget that it was founded by more than one person.
Lindsay McCoy.
Right. I believe customer service is the biggest asset, and obviously it's changing over the years, and we have to figure out how to get that customer service back because we've lost that.
And then one thing I wanted to say is, Carl, you're correct. Many people make many business mistakes constantly. That's how they learn. That's how they grow. And that's one of the reasons why we have Ask Brien. Because if people can find out the answers from somebody else who's already experienced that problem, so they may have had difficulty inspiring their employees, and you can get on the site and answer that for somebody who's just experiencing that issue for the first time. That's why Ask Brien was created. So you're a perfect example.
Thank you so much.
And we appreciate you. For
I'm curious, where do you get your flooring at, Carl?
My flooring, now it's going to be at Marty's flooring.
And where do you get your furniture, Carl?
No, it's going to be at Douglas Furniture.
That boy. And where do you get your teeth cleaned, Carl?
Noah Dental.
That boy.
I'm looking forward to getting to know Noah Dental.
All right.
Congrats, guys.
Thank you for everything you do for this community in Santa Clarita and Southern California. Carl Goldman and Jerry Cerati Goldman. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much for being on the show.
You got it.
All right. Quick break coming up. We're going to come right back on this really popular show. We get your emails. We get your texts. We know you love this show. Lindsay McCoy, the fabulous, Brien Johnson. I'm your host, Coach Ron Tunick. We'll see you in a minute. Don't go anywhere. We'll be